to get out after 25 days of relentless bombardments and siege. More than 300 people with foreign passports were allowed to leave Gaza by the Rafah crossing today, including 2 Britons. Their departure approved by Egypt and Israel. Others are expected to leave in the coming days.
كنا بنفكر دائما انه اقل مشكله صارت لنا من اول ما بدات الحرب هي قطعه الكهرباء والمي بس بعد هيك صارت المشاكل جدا كبيره يعني احنا قطعنا مشوار ربنا يعلم كيف تركنا غزه واجينا وبالاخير صفينا في مدارس الايواء.
Ambulances brought more than 80 people with serious injuries for treatment over the border in Egypt. Gazan hospitals are completely overwhelmed and many thousands will need attention. A few aid trucks entered, but again, the supply comes nowhere near the need. Israel targeted Jabalia, the biggest camp in Gaza, again today, after yesterday's multiple strikes. The Israelis appear to believe that Hamas fighters are still operating in tunnels beneath the rubble. Speaking from an unknown location, the Hamas political leader said the hostages, some also in tunnels, were in danger from the bombing.
أن تدرك هذه العصبة المتغطرسة بل هذه العصابة المتغطرسة أنهم غرقوا في رمال غزة سيكون ذلك قد كلفهم كثيرا وعلى كل الأصعدة بما فيه حياة أسراهم.
The Israel Defense Force appears to be treating the north of the Gaza Strip as a free fire zone. It's hard to imagine what Gaza will look like when this is over, let alone the lives of those civilians who survive. And that's the purpose of releasing this footage, to show the might and determination of the Israeli military.
זאת תהיה גם מלחמה ארוכה. יש לנו בה הישגים חשובים, אבל גם אבדות כואבות. אנחנו יודעים, כל חייל שלנו הוא עולם ומלואו. ואני אומר למשפחות היקרות, עם ישראל כולו איתכם בשעת יגונכם הכבד, הקשה מנשוא.
Today saw the funeral of 20-year-old Israeli reservist Lavi Lipschitz, killed attacking Jabalia yesterday. A majority of Israelis want to destroy Hamas in retaliation for the atrocities committed on October the 7th. The price, they say, is worth it.
Well, let's talk to Lindsay live now. Lindsay, when I first got here 3 weeks ago, we were all very focused on the threat, the potential threat from Lebanon, from Hezbollah in the north. But it turns out actually that the more real threat, to some extent, today at least, came from the south, from the pro-Iranian Houthis in Yemen. Tell us about that.
That's right. In the last few days, the Houthis have fired missiles, we think cruise missiles, and also drones towards Israel. Now, Israel today moved more naval assets into the Red Sea so that they could shoot those down. And there are American naval assets in the region as well, and they have shot some of those down before. The Houthis, as you say, are backed by Iran. I mean, really, these days, I think you can say they're Iranian proxies, as is Hezbollah in Lebanon, as are militia in both Syria and Iraq. And they've been doing a bit. You know, the Hezbollah have been firing over the border into Israel. The militia in Iraq have been attacking American assets there. Now, the question is, does Iran want to enter this war in a more strategic way? And the answer is probably not. They probably just want to keep this going, to keep up the pressure. But of course, there is a great danger of instability across the region. And I think one of the things the Americans may be worried about is that the Israelis may decide that they want to, I don't know how you put it, take a pop at Iran. And that, of course, could be very dangerous across the region.
So you've got the potential military threats from the north and the south. Then you've got the Jordanian government withdrawing its ambassador to Israel and telling the Israeli ambassador to Amman to stay at home here in Israel. I mean, they seem to be kind of courting more and more isolation. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that the Israelis know that the longer this war goes on and the more Palestinian civilians that they kill in that war, the more unpopular they're going to be around the region, and also the more difficult it will be for the Americans and Europeans to continue to support them. What has happened in the past is that eventually there comes a point where the Americans say, you really can't keep going on this. Now, I think that point may be further away this time than it has been before, but the mood here, they're so angry. They're so angry about what happened. I think that they will put up with it, and I think that they also believe that they still will have the support of the Gulf countries, and that's where the power lies in the region these days.
Lindsay in Tel Aviv, thank you very much indeed. Well, since Israel announced the beginning of the second stage of its war in Gaza, information about its military operations has been tightly controlled, although the IDF announced tonight that it had lost 15 troops since Friday when the ground war began. But over the last few days, geolocated footage and high-resolution satellite imagery have allowed us a glimpse of the IDF's movements inside Gaza. Here's Kieran Woodley.
למתקפה על החמאס וארגוני הטרור ברצועת עזה. מטרתנו היא אחת.
Israel's PR war machine is in overdrive. The ground invasion will be televised by the IDF. Perhaps tempered by the US warning them against a full-blown charge into Gaza. This second stage so far appears to be an incremental advance into the northern half of the Strip. But what we know is limited, because Israel has been careful with the information it releases.
Israel is operating in a space of strategic ambiguity, which is exactly what they want to do to kind of keep Hamas on their back foot. Not knowing what to expect is something that makes Hamas very unsure of how they can enter the battle, but also how they can enter into political dialogue.
Following the Hamas attack of October 7th, Israel's war cabinet vowed to destroy Hamas. On October 13th, they told civilians in Gaza to evacuate from the top of the Erez crossing down to Wadi Gaza. Israeli tanks began to amass just north of the Gaza Strip in fields here, with others seen down near to Kibbutz Be'eri, the scene of one of Hamas's massacres. The IDF said short ground incursions began on October 22nd, but we didn't get images until days later. It was last Friday night that Israel imposed a communications blackout, internet, mobile and landlines all cut. An indication of more permanent incursions into Gaza. The IDF has continued to release footage from inside, showing its soldiers conducting operations. Columns of tanks driving along the sand, bulldozers clearing the way. But the Israelis do not say exactly where and when these images are from. They just release them day